Everyone. I wanted to say hello to everyone. I haven't made a video in a minute, and for me, a minute is like 4 days. Probably the hardest thing is to talk about content that's relatable to people. So I believe everything that I have to say and everything that someone has to say, for the most part, is relatable. But how do you put it in a way that is the most relatable? So I think that's probably the one thing that I kind of struggle with is what information might go over people's heads, what information. Um, do I need to say it in a certain way? So I always just kind of pray to ask for the right words to come. So that being said, this one is about storytelling our lives together, and I just wanted to encourage everybody that together we can really change our world for the better. Not saying that our world needs changing in all aspects, but obviously there are some things that we need to be more mindful of moving forward. And right now provides us with a great opportunity to do so. So I'd ask that you watch the entirety of the video. I'll try to keep it short because at the end, it's not really anything that I'm calling to action, some huge grand thing that's going to require all your time and energy. Because I know that we all have our lives individually that we lead, but just little changes that we can potentially and hopefully make within our own lives and our own communities. So, that being said, I have my notes written down. I first want to talk about just storytellers. So, I'm going to list off some storytellers, and hopefully, most of you have heard one of these names, but Tolkien or Rowling or Clancy, Dickens, King. So I can say any of those things, and people who love Stephen King or J.R.R. Tolkien, J.K. Rowling, Tom Clancy, or Charles Dickens, obviously there's so many other authors in the world. When I say one of those names, though, if you know any of their stories really well, there's a vivid imagery that kind of pops in your head because each of those authors has created a world and has done so well that they transport you there when you just think about either some of the books they have written or some of the movies that you've watched that were made based upon those books. And so I wanted to suggest that just like an author would write a story, or if you were to be posed the question, hey, write any type of story that you want to write, that you love, whether it be fantasy or science fiction or a detective story or a love story, whatever it may be. If someone asked you to write a story, and actually do it, and then you'd sit down and you'd kind of go through all these ideas in your head and developing characters and the scene and the setting and what you wanted to happen. And it's like in that moment, when you're creating that story, anything is possible, right? And it's not until you put the pen down to the paper and you write it and then you revise it and you edit it and you send it to an editor and they give you their input of what you should do and whatnot, what changes you should make, that the final product is then published and then given to people. And I always wonder about that sometimes when I read a book or watch a movie. It's like, oh man, how many different directions could have this gone? But this is crazy how this is the story that we all got and we accepted it and we love it, but it could have been so different, right? So the same thing with our daily lives, except in what we're doing is when we wake up, what are we thinking about as soon as we wake up? When we get out of bed, what do we brush? Do we brush our teeth? Do we put on deodorant? You don't have to do any of those things, but do you do those things? Do you shower? Do you go to the bathroom? Do you make food? Do you get up and take your time and stretch and work out? Do you go right to work? Do you get food? What kind of food do you eat? Is it healthy food? What food are you putting in your body? What are you listening to on the way to work? What are you saying to yourself on the way to work? Are you even going to work? Are you retired? How many days a week do you work? How many hours a week do you work? Are you currently unemployed? Are you married? Do you have kids? Did you adopt kids? Do you look after people that aren't your biological kids? Do you wear certain shoes or a certain clothing style? Whatever it may be, what kind of brands do you support? All those little decisions each and every day have shaped what your life is currently like. And just like an author would create a story for their own world, we are, whether we think about it or not, doing the same thing with our individual lives. It's just a lot of us are kind of on autopilot when we do that. And so that's kind of a small scale, but then we can look at it in a larger scale. We have the sports that we have because collectively different people come together that made sports over the years. Sports have evolved. People decided to attend those sporting events. They decided to embrace them, to invest in them. It grew in popularity over time. They didn't have to, but they did. Certain companies rose to fame, and then maybe they're not with us anymore. Some companies rose quickly, some stood the test of time, some are failing right now. It's all co-created, because certain celebrities are celebrities because we decided to invest our energy into them. And so it goes to show that the power really is within, maybe not the individual person every time, but in numbers. And that together, we have holidays on certain days, but you don't have to celebrate them on those days. But together, you decide with most of your family, okay, we're going to get together on December 25th and we're going to open presents, sometime during the day. We're going to have food and we're going to call it Christmas and we're going to celebrate it. You know what I mean? Same with any other holiday. You don't have to celebrate it on those days, but we come together and collectively decide that we're going to. So I just wanted to give those quick examples to encourage people that within your own life, you don't have to make some big adjustment. Do something that you can do. Pick something real easy, even if it's just, what, I can give 5 compliments a day, and stick to it. I can give 10 compliments a day. I can choose a vegetable I'm going to eat. I can choose to turn off the radio for 10 minutes while I'm driving, and I can say things that I'm grateful for instead. Something that you can do. It doesn't require a lot of effort, and track it and then commit to it. And it'll help change just one little thing at a time. And then you'll be living in a world that's not the same. Even with that small change, you'll be living in a world that's just not the same because you weren't doing that before. Now you decide you are. And now you're going to have a change in benefit. You're going to have a change in mindset slightly. And over time, you could choose something else then. And then outside of that, maybe identify something that you would struggle with, but try your best. That maybe you're not going to be, it's not going to be super easy for you, but maybe you can do it. Which is maybe for me, it's easy to make videos, but believe it or not, I have a hard time actually posting them because I worry about what people are going to think. But I've committed this year that I was going to continue to write poetry. I was going to continue to paint, and I was going to make videos that can share and inspire people, whether or not they do that. That's my intention. But just wanted to get that to you real quick. I hope you guys had a great evening, but think about that. Think about just kind of being author of your own life. Everything moving forward is a blank slate. How do you want it to look? Okay. And together we do have a choice on, what companies do we support? What values do we support in our community and in ourselves, starting at home, how we treat each other, how we treat ourselves, our spouses, our kids, our neighbors, our friends and family, and then how we want to move, how do we want to set the example moving forward. So everyone have a great night. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. I'm going to end the stream now if it lets me. Have a good night.